I think he also is obsessed with his legacy and sort of like, being the architect of the new Russian Empire, which is restoring sort of the borders of the former Soviet bloc. And yeah, there's this, you know, yeah, I don't know, like why NATO is such a threat or he perceives it as a threat, but yeah, or if
It's,
that's
it's not a threat. Look, you've got Finland, Sweden, they're in NATO. There's no threat.
yeah. No.
But there's a threat in Ukraine. Ukraine's a threat because it's a democracy. The Russians one day are going to have to wake up and realize, wait a minute, like these people are leading normal lives over there. How come our lives are so bad? Except for Moscow and St. Petersburg, of course. But otherwise, people in Russia, the polling of the population in Russia indicates that the Russians, by and large, support the war. Like they support Putin. They like that. They want that to happen. And if you're a mother and your son is out on the front, in the Ukrainian front, of course you're going to support Russia. You're not going to say, "Oh no, my son shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be fighting in the war." So the war is sort of cultivating its own following, and the difficulty with that is that you can't say, "Well, this is just Putin. If we get rid of Putin, everything will be back to normal." No, no, no. That's not the end of the problem. The problem is there is no institutional growth, democratic growth in Russia. Russia cannot become a democratic country. Hopefully, that's something you would want. Not everybody would want that, but the only way Russia can become a democratic country is not through just individuals, but they have to have institutions. They don't have the institutions that are needed in order, like a court system, law schools, civil society. These kind of elements
Yeah,
are.
it's all been dismantled by
Yeah,
Putin. There were seeds of that there at some point in time, but that's been dismantled. There's been the brainwashing or the programming, and yeah, most people just feel like Putin does. These are Russian lands, and Ukraine is Russian lands, and Russia has a right to reclaim them. And
yeah,
whatever the motherland needs, we are willing to to give and sacrifice. Sort of, to be brief.
and Applebaum is very good on this. She's written, I'm not sure if it's her book Autocracy or Autocracy Now or something like that. She's written two books recently that talk about Putin and his oligarchs and this connection between China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, and that these high-level people who are running these countries support each other and are trying to sort of help each other out in terms of whatever their interests are, war in the case of Russia with Ukraine,
Mhm.
sending in the Korean soldiers. I think there's about 12,000 of them now fighting on the front. I don't know how. I read the other day that I think there's several thousand, I think, have been killed now, Korean soldiers.
4,000 or around there.
Yeah.
The estimate.
So um, and someone was saying they were interviewed, and the interview was like the questions were, well, what are you doing here? Oh, we were told we're going on a military exercise. We didn't know we're going into a war with Ukraine. I don't know if that's true, but
I don't think
uh,
that's true because they've since discovered like these pamphlets on the troops, like of notes, and I mean
oh,
that they've been really well trained and that they're performing at a higher level than the Russians are. So they've been prepared, for dealing with drones and a lot of the new technologies, and they're motivated, and they're not taken prisoner because they kill themselves or blow themselves up or whatever. So like they've been well prepared.
yeah, but they'll never, match. The One of the strengths of Ukraine is that the guys and the women who are out there on the front are not there because of someone's interest or how much they're going to be paid, or by and large. Um, they're there because of commitment to freedom, independence, sovereignty, like principles. So it's hard to fight an army like that when you're paying your soldiers and they're fighting because they're getting paid. You know, it's the motivation is not there.
Yeah, I mean, Ukraine has had some problems also with corruption within the army or some leaders, like corrupt commanders, and that has stripped away, I think, some of that morale, and that's why
Yeah.
people need there. It's harder for Ukraine now to find new people because it's like a lottery. You're not, some you might get a good commander, you might get a corrupt one, and so there's that's a problem for Ukraine right now as far as like replenishing their forces or giving the guys who have been there for years a break and rotating them out. That's probably something that's really weakening Ukraine at this moment.
I agree. Ben Hodges was a general, a U.S. general, talks about Ukraine, and his point is that Ukraine has the capacity to recruit about 1 million more soldiers just based on what the current criteria are for recruitment, but they're not recruiting these soldiers, or there's some reluctance to get these soldiers out to the front lines. Uh, and that would be the place to start is to try and collect these people and get them out on the front line. But it's easy for us to talk in our comfortable
Yeah,
environments, not worried about breakfast tomorrow and stuff like that.
yeah,
But try and lie in a ditch for like 2 years or 3 years and with a gun and shoot
yeah.
like um, I have no right to talk given that situation.